Add a new one every year.
To call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order, we will start with an invocation by Councilman Tonsmeyer, followed by the pledge by Councilman Pruitt. If you'll please stand with me.
Let us pray. Gracious God, the giver of all good gifts, we give you thanks for the abundance of which you have showered upon us. Help us to be responsible stewards of these gifts. Grant that the decisions of this council and the way we deliberate and share our information and decision-making will give glory and honor to your name. For it is your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Keeling, the rules, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2. Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Proud to be here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5. Here. Lori Pruitt, Ward 6. Here.
Thank you, Connie. First order of business is the approval of the council meeting minutes from our December 16th meeting. That was last year. Do you believe that? And you've got these well in advance of tonight's meeting. Chair will entertain any edits, corrections, additions, or other motions.
Mayor, I hope my colleagues didn't see any corrections or additions. I did not make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And minutes are approved. We have some second readings of different requests tonight. We'll start with AZ 10-04, a zoning annexation request. Mr. Menino.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, as you had noted, this is an annexation and zoning request. It is the second reading. There have been no additions or changes since the first reading. Planning Commission did recommend approval of the annexation and the zoning request on this property.
Any other questions for Mr. Menino that have arisen over the last 2 weeks, or any further clarification required by council at this time? Thank you, Randy. At this time, I'll open up the first of two public hearings. The first public hearing is in reference to the zoning portion of this request. Anybody wishing to step forward and speak for or against may do so at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. My name is Harry White and represent the applicant. I'm here with Andrew Pettit, the owner of the wood yard that's located on this property. It's on the northern portion of the city limits, straddling the line. We're here to answer any questions that you might have concerning the property or the reason why we're wanting to ask for annexation as well as rezoning.
Thank you. Any questions from council at this time? Thank you, Mr. White. And once again, this is a public hearing for the zoning portion of this request. Anybody wishing to speak for or against may step forward and do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the zoning portion of this public hearing, and I'll open up a public hearing for the annexation portion of this request. Once again, anybody wishing to speak for or against may step forward and do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the annexation public hearing. Council, you have before you the first order will be the annexation portion of this request. If there's other further discussion, if not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? And of course it passes. The next item to take up is the zoning portion of this request. Chair will entertain a motion or further discussion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And motion carries. The next item is Z 10-04, which is for the adjacent property. Randy, if you'll take us from there.
Again, thank you, Mayor and Council. As you had noted, this is the adjacent 1 acre property there on Redcomb Road. This property is already in the city's jurisdiction. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the zoning of this property.
The structure next door, I guess that is on this Porter Street, what is that zoned? Is that multifamily on the corner?
MF 14, yes, multifamily apartments, basically.
Okay.
Do you mean across the street?
No, the one next door.
Oh,
That's,
It's a single-
yeah,
And across the street is MF 14.
that is also MF 14, okay. Just wanted to verify that. Thank you. Any questions for Randy at this point? Thank you, sir. I'll open up a public hearing for the zoning requests. Z 10-04, anybody wishing to step forward and speak for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And Chair, you can engage in further discussion, question, comment, or motion.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And motion carries. The next item is SU 10-01, special use permit. Randy.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor and Council. As I had noted at the first reading, this is basically a formality. The church is already existing. They're doing an expansion. There never was a special use approved on this particular property. With that, there have been no additions or changes since the first reading. The applicant is present, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this application.
Okay. We will open up a public hearing for this special use permit. And anybody wishing to step forward and speak for or against may do so at this time.
Mayor and Council, good evening. My name is Carl Trevathan. I represent the applicant, the Archdiocese of Atlanta. Nothing has changed since we've last met here. We thank you for your consideration to approve this expansion to our church, and I'm here to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for council? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing for the special use application SU 10-01. Again, anybody else wishing to step forward, speak for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and council, it's in your hands.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We've got the first reading of an ordinance regarding our motor vehicle and traffic ordinance. Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recently, we had a large truck making a right turn traveling westbound on West Main Street onto North Irwin that ran into the pedestrian signal mount and pushed it into a local business, the side of the local business building. And the business owner has requested that we look at this intersection and see what we could do about limiting the large truck traffic turning right off of West Main onto North Irwin.
Yes, sir.
Our police chief has looked at it, our city engineers looked at it, and we're recommending that the ordinance be revised to prohibit trucks over 6 wheels to make the right turns onto North Irwin Street from West Main Street westbound. We'll have to place the sign on the mast arm that Georgia DOT has for the traffic signals, and I think we can, I don't think that'll be a problem with GDOT. And we recommend, obviously, approval of this first reading.
Okay. Questions for Bobby at this point?
Bobby, I have a question, please. Help me think through now. Trucks are coming maybe off of 75 and they're coming down Main Street. So our preference, or what this may encourage them to do, is to come across the South Bridge and then just come straight up Irwin. That would be the best alternative route. Is that correct?
Yes, the recommendation is just only the trucks traveling westbound making right turns. The ones coming eastbound, they've got more room to make the radius. It's really tight right there to make that
It's very
turn.
tight. In fact, I wonder if the building has ever been hit. I mean, when you look at it, it's really tight right there.
Okay.
So that's not putting the trucks out much. I mean, that's a preferred route maybe anyway.
We wouldn't want to completely prohibit, because local deliveries have to be made. But that right turn is it's just too tight.
But in that block, there's probably not a whole lot of deliveries if you go look.
That's correct.
You've got the yoga studio and a couple law offices maybe.
My wife will get bad. Church Street's also an option if you're heading in that direction.
But didn't we take out one of those parking places, Sam, to give trucks a little bit more room, and that still was not that
In front of
helpful?
specialty accounting, I think so, yeah.
We did, but the building, the road is so narrow, the main street is so narrow right there, that building corner is just right in the apex of that
Oh,
turn.
it really
Yeah.
is.
How is that different if you're coming down Irwin and making a right on the Main Street?
You got a lot of room to turn.
there a lot more room there?
And you can pull
I
out.
guess so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not against it. I was just wondering what that would do to traffic flow.
Okay. Any other questions for Bobby? Thank you, sir. Any other discussion by council? This is the first reading of an ordinance. We'll take it up at our next meeting on the 20th. Okay, next item, Bobby.
We have a change order from Croy Engineering on the Main Street Gateway for some additional work that's required to, we've been working with some local property owners trying to get our design lined up with what their needs and wishes are. There's some revisions on the plans that have to be done because of that. The median breaks have moved based on what their needs are. We've got to reapply to Georgia DOT for the design variance for those. We've got to revise the construction plans for some right-of-way negotiations that we've had with the property owners. And we've got to prepare a landscape plan to meet Georgia DOT requirements and the City of Cartersville requirements. And also included in the change order is some post-design construction services like project management if we ask them to do while the project's going on. The total for this change order is $61,900, and we recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions on this item?
Just a comment, Mayor. I think that we probably should extend our appreciation to Senator Bill Heath and Representative Paul Battles, who went with us down to talk to GDOT folks and help solidify the state's money on this, and of course then the property owners who've worked with us on the project too.
Very good point.
Well, Mayor, just to comment, I mean, this is something we've been working on for a long time, but I never come over that hill and look out that I don't think about this project and a gateway to our city and how nice we want it to look. And it does look nice. You can see mountains, you can see the courthouse, you can see so many things, but we want that leading people right into the city to look as attractive as it can.
And we're getting close to making it happen. Bobby, the general thought process on when this would go to let and start?
Schedule.
An ambitious
Yeah,
estimate
we're
was
just talking generally. I'm not holding you specifically.
March to April,
Yeah, so,
depending on how fast they get these changes done,
right,
I think.
that's good news. Okay.
Bobby, if any of us are interested in those DOT landscaping suggestions when they have that pretty much drawn up, could we come by the office and look at them?
Yes, ma'am, obviously.
We'd love to see those.
Okay. Any other questions for Bobby on this item? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And motion carries. Continue on.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, we've had a Phase 1 environmental assessment completed on the 21.6 acre tract on Old Mill Road that the city is interested in purchasing. The results of this Phase 1 assessment, they labeled a moderate risk of some subsurface contamination based on what their findings were. Our city attorney has recommended that we have a Phase 2 assessment done at a cost, estimated cost between $7,500 and $8,000 to answer those subsurface contamination questions for sure. I think if we're going to move forward to purchase the property, we need to have that done.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to proceed with Phase 2 of environmental studies.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? And motion carries.
And just for the record, Bobby, what's the name of the company doing that?
Geohydro Engineers out of Kennesaw, Georgia. We've used them a lot. I have 20 years experience with them, and they're very good.
7677 is the amount. Right.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Lovell.
The gas department has asked, oh, I'm sorry,
No.
I was jumping ahead.
Would you like a copy of tonight's agenda?
No, I have one. As y'all know, we sold a wrecker to a fellow over in Alabama off of the GovBid site. He was unaware of the fact that the vehicle had been wrecked in Alabama previously, and because of that, he's not able to get a title on the vehicle in Alabama, so he can use that. He has requested if the mayor and council would rescind that sale and send him the money back in exchange for a release, and he would make arrangements to get the record back here. This item is presented to you for your decision on or recommendation on. There is no legal requirement that you actually refund him the purchase price because the ad was sold and the vehicle was sold as is.
That's a 1971 Kenworth T800 record that was sold to Mr. William Martin of Summerton, Alabama for $17,850.
And we would, I guess the other amended part of that, council, would be that if you were to decide to refund him his money, we would just turn around and put the record back on Gov Deals and sell it to somebody else and
Yep. Make sure they're in Georgia.
In North Carolina.
somewhere else where they can actually use the vehicle that they purchased, so.
Was this vehicle damaged in Georgia or Alabama?
It was originally damaged in Alabama, and we bought it from a salvage company and repaired that vehicle and made it operational and used it, I don't know, for numerous years. And then when it was out of service for us, we put it back on the market. And Alabama just has some different title laws than Georgia, where this vehicle is perfectly legally and fine to operate in Georgia. Because of the way the Alabama laws are, once a vehicle is wrecked there's a process that you have to go through, and only a certified repair person in Alabama can repair a vehicle and put it back on a Alabama road. And since it was repaired and done in Georgia, that doesn't count.
Okay. Council, if there's other further discussion, or if you'd like to make a motion, either to do or not do.
I can make a motion that we bring the truck back to Georgia, refund the money to Mr. Martin.
I'll second it.
Okay, just as a point of clarification, the gentleman who bought the truck is going to be responsible for bringing it back to us.
Yes, he will.
Technically, though,
Yes.
Okay. I do have a motion and a second, and is all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign, and it carries. We have grant application request.
Good evening. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Cartersville Downtown Development Authority, and we would request your endorsement of a USDA Rural Development Enterprise Grant that would allow us to commission an artist to do a Great Locomotive Chase mural for Cartersville, which would reflect a Cartersville scene with the Great Locomotive Chase trains in it. And it would be the second one in Bartow County. The first one was commissioned for Dyersville through the USDA grant program as well, and that mural will be unveiled in April in Dyersville. Eventually, they hope to have a Great Locomotive Chase trail that would reflect a mural in each of the 7 communities that the general passed through.
Okay,
And the artists are with me tonight if you have any questions for them.
thank you. Any questions for Liz?
Liz, I want to talk to you about this, please. One, have you talked to Valerie about, does she think that we have a real possibility of getting this? Lots of times she knows from other grant
Valerie
writers.
did help write the grant for Dyersville, and I had talked with her. I actually meet with her on Tuesday if you approve to go forward with the grant. She feels like since there has already been a grant for this project, that the second one should have a strong chance of passing as well.
Now, let me ask you about this. If DDA is applying for the grant, and then we're just putting a recommendation with it.
Right. We are required to have an endorsement from the city
Endorsement from
to
the city.
submit the
Let me
grant.
ask you this. If the grant doesn't come through, then we know what that means. But if it does come through, then what part does City Council have in working with DDA and downtown development to make sure that everything goes like we would like to see it for the city? What part do we have in that?
Of course, we'll commission, if we receive the grants, we would commission the artwork to be done, and at any point in the process, we would be able to change what goes on our mural. we had some discussion on Tuesday night with the Historic Preservation Commission, and they had suggested perhaps that the entire mural not be a locomotive scene, that it have more of a Cartersville scene from the Civil War era. So that was one thing that the artist and I discussed, was making sure that we have the locomotives in the scene to qualify for this grant, but also to make sure that it reflects what we want to see in a Cartersville mural.
I guess the concern that I have is thinking about our downtown area, and I think it looks so nice, and other people do also. But we have the Coca-Cola sign, so we don't want anything in conflict with that, in my opinion. The 1869 courthouse has just been redone, and that brick all has, in other words, I think, Mayor, that we would like to be a part of, if we do get the grant, actually where it goes. Yeah,
And we would welcome that, because we will have to, if it's a city building, of course, we would need your approval to put a mural on or around it. And if it's a property owner, we would need to have negotiations with the property owner to put the mural near their building as well.
But we're getting so many compliments in our city now, and I just know that you want to be very careful. The paintings are beautiful, it's not that, but I know you want to be careful, and I think we would also. So I would make that request, Mayor.
And just another point of clarification, this grant will cover all expenses and there'll be no cost or resources to the city.
It would cover all of the work except for installing it, which would be covered by the DDA through our Business Improvement District monies.
Okay.
Liz, is the city actually the sponsor for this grant, or
The
are we
DD
just writing a
You're
letter
just
of
endorsing.
recommendation?
You're writing a letter of recommendation.
Okay.
We are the applying agency as the DDA.
And just so the public will know, this painting does not go right on a building, but actually goes on panels close
Right.
to a building.
And that was one reason why we were excited when we learned about this process. I had spoken with the city of Adairsville to find out how it was funded and what their local match was. They don't require a local match, which made me very excited, because we have been looking for ways to add more outdoor public art into the downtown district as a way to keep visitors there longer and give them more to see outside in our downtown district. We're also looking at ways to add sculpture and other forms of art in the downtown, so to be able to have a free piece of artwork, we thought was a really great way to go for our first piece of art for the outside, other than the booth. The booth is wonderful. They had art on their grounds, but to have some other artwork within the downtown business district.
Any other questions or discussion?
I'd like some provision that the city council approve the site early on in the process. And if we're not the sponsoring institution, then maybe we can't do that. And otherwise, I'm not going to vote in favor of it.
Well, I would think that you could, maybe council can,
When that what we were talking about?
you
Yeah,
can
I think
kind of direct
that's-
us on this. I mean, can he make a motion that stipulates as such, even if we're not the sponsoring?
Yes, but he can, but I don't really think you need to, because frankly, under the rules and ordinances of the city, this is considered a sign. It will require approval by the actually Board of Zoning Appeals in this case before it is actually placed anywhere in downtown, because it will be larger than the requirements that we currently have. So the Board of Zoning Appeals will be granting a variance for whatever location it goes in. We can make arrangements for that to come to the, not the variance itself, but the board will be making that decision on behalf of the city when they make that request. And y'all, of course, have input on that board, but whatever y'all want to do on that, you can.
So you can put it in the motion.
You can.
So if you'd like to include that as part of the motion, if it's time to
Actually,
make
Carrie's
motions.
going to be the one to do it.
I know.
Yes.
We can always put Reverend Tonsmeyer on the committee to help us find a location too if we receive the grant.
Yeah, you got that one too. You go right ahead, sir.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll be glad to make the motion.
Okay. I'll second.
Well, how about making that motion?
I'll be glad to. Make a motion that we sponsor and the USDA Rural Enterprise Grant for a potential Cartersville scene honoring the Great Locomotive Chase, and that City Council be involved in the site of that painting.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We do have one item to add to the agenda this evening. Chair will entertain a motion to add that item.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Item is on the table.
Oh, now I'm finally caught up.
Relocation agreement. Keith,
Yeah.
this would be
Yes,
your time to
the item I
talk
wanted
about
to talk
the
about
gas
earlier,
department.
yes.
Thank you.
The gas department has asked us to consider a relocation agreement with the Bartow County School System on an existing gas line at the new school at Rolling Springs Road. By moving the line and relocating it, it will allow the city to get a new easement for its line and also loop the system and provide gas service to the new school and receive revenues. It is recommended by staff for your approval, and the reason why we had to come before y'all tonight and ask for it to be added to the agenda was the school board would like this done as quickly as possible, and their next meeting to approve it is before y'all's next meeting.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? And if not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening?
Mr. Anderson isn't here, but I will try to sit in for him. He wanted me to remind you that on January 19th, there'll be a moonlight hike, and he will depart from the west trailhead of Pine Mountain at 5:30 p.m. Everybody's welcome to come.
Very good. By the way, March 12th is the second annual Mayor Matt's March Mountain March.
Oh.
Saturday, so that won't cost you anything. It'll take you up the mountain. Without any other further business, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
You get a rump out of that.
So we like.
Y'all were doing that so well.